Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Ingrid Barclay, and in this video I'm going to share with you 5 things, and the first 2 are probably going to pertain to you, and they are that I guess one of the messages is why the world needs to hear your story, no matter what it is, and that you shouldn't hide your quirky nature. Why you should always stay in your integrity. How to handle being frequently called a steroid user. I'm going to talk about how I deal with poor technique criticism on social media and how I'm going to break my back. And I'm also going to talk about my thoughts as gender as a construct and how it has impacted my daily life. So I want to start by saying that the world needs you, the individual, and your quirks or your struggles are what makes you absolutely unique. And also that allows for other people to connect with you. I mean, we all know that being perfect is boring and also unattainable. And who can connect with anybody that has no shit to deal with? I mean, I can't. I don't like superfluous conversations. And my close friends know that. I prefer to talk about the deep stuff. And, part of getting through your challenges is owning up to them and putting them out on display, which is about what I'm about to do, bare my soul. In fact, I think that we're almost doing ourselves a disservice if we don't put it out there. Other people want to learn, and they need to know that, perhaps someone's life who they perceive to be really successful isn't just perfect, and it's certainly not effortless. That's for sure. It still blows me away sometimes that people on the outside looking in, who I then meet, largely clients, actually are surprised if I raise that I have an issue or a problem going on. It's like, their perception through my Insta or whatever is that, and I don't even show all my highlights. I show a lot of lowlights to be, I guess, a little bit more transparent and, authentic. Yeah. On integrity, I've got this to say, stay in your integrity at all times. So trust that your work is good enough. Trust that your reputation is upright and worth enough, and that you are good enough to assemble your own amazing little tribe that was born out of your own work ethic, moral code, and your credibility. My tribe may not be huge, but they're a good little tribe, and they don't mind my quirkiness. In fact, it's probably what endears me to them. And, I like the fact that I do put my stuff out there. This just happened to me literally 20 minutes ago. I'll share it with you. I went to my letterbox and I got this card, and it says, "Hey you." And on the back it said, "Open on your birthday." So it came a couple of days too late, and there's no name. I don't know where it came from. Now, this person obviously knows me well, very well, because I've only said this to 4 or 5 people, but I can't remember who they were. So I don't know who it is. I've got to guess. And one of the things that she said to me that made me go, right, I'm going to do this YouTube, is she said, "P.S. Listen to Linkin Park, One More Light," which I haven't done yet, but I will. Now, this is what I've said a small handful of times. I could quite easily become a recluse. And, I worry about that for myself, that I feel that way. Born out of a whole host of things, not feeling good enough, not feeling lovable, not feeling liked. I'm boring. I always think that I'm boring. And she said, don't be a recluse. The world needs you. And I thought, that's emotional. But I thought, whoever they are, they're right. I'm not for everybody. Nobody's for everybody, We're a bit like food, Imagine if food cared about what we thought about it. I mean, it doesn't. What if it did? Like some people like lemongrass. Some people hate lemongrass. Lemongrass doesn't care. Well, why do we care? And yet, we can care a lot. So let me get into my third point now that I've talked about, why the world needs Quirky and you and your story, because it matters, and how it really matters to stay in your integrity so that you can sleep well at night. And that is what your tribe will like you for your transparency, for just being authentic, for owning all your flaws and your faults. I'm even going to own my embarrassments about very shortly, and I'm uncomfortable with it because embarrassment is different to shame, and shame is brought about by feeling immoral, and I don't feel that, but I feel embarrassed about a couple of things that I'm going to share. So let me talk to you about always being accused of being on steroids. Oh boy. Okay, how do I handle it? Well, I don't really, because you know what? It doesn't bother me. And for that, I'm grateful for. It's such an old, boring discussion. Who's taking what? Who's on what? Is she? Isn't he? Is he natty? Is she natty? Oh, I don't know. It's like I've been accused of being on steroids at the age of 20 when I didn't even know what steroids were. It's ridiculous. I get frustrated because I think to myself, gee, I've trained really consistently for 36 years, save an 8-month break where I tore my pec. Other than that, super consistent. Oh, but that couldn't be the reason why I'm really strong and really muscular. And I know that I have a dense looking physique, yes, I do. Well, what would you expect with 3.5 decades? And what? I'm going to be weak after training all that time in a gym? I don't train in the gym to maintain. I've always strived to get stronger and stronger. So of course I'm going to be a strong girl. And, I'll talk a little bit more about that later because it ties in a little bit with gender. There was a point, it was about, I think 5 years ago, where I just got jack of it. And I was being a little bit facetious and a little bit sarcastic. And I saw online a t-shirt. And I went, I'm buying that and I am wearing it to the gym. So in I walked with a bright yellow t-shirt and it said, no, I'm not on steroids, but thanks for asking. I thought, I know what that was doing. I was poking the bear. Poke, poke, poke. But, it's old. I guess it comes back to if you don't have something nice to say about somebody, just don't say anything at all because we never know what people are doing or not doing. So, I just go, whatever. I'll just let it wash over me when, I get those comments on social media, which I do. Now, oh my gosh, I've had a page figure it out, and it used to be really, really popular for about 7 years because I blogged every single day and I talked about some really, deep stuff as well as lots of figure girl stuff and sports model stuff and, you know, nutrition, supplements. Like, it was a really good page, but unfortunately I got burnt out. I was advised not to shut the page down, so I kept it open, and I just post things like every now and again, and it's bland. It hasn't had any interaction. And the other day, like it would have been about 10 days ago, I just popped a video up, and I was deadlifting. Now I'm about 3 weeks out from a deadlift competition. So I just whacked the video up just to keep the page going. I mean, it gets about like 2 likes a day, and that's okay. Anyway, 2 days later, I noticed on the computer that like I had all these notifications. It's like, oh, that's weird. So I went in to figure it out, and lo and behold, there's just all these comments. Unfortunately, most of them negative, and a lot of critique about my form. And, you know, I had pulled 210 kilos. It was ugly. It wasn't ugly. Like, it wasn't a 9 out of 10. It was about a 7.5 out of ugliness. So it was, I'm going to swear. It was a bit of a shit fight to get it up, but it came up no problem, and I didn't hitch or anything like that, and I controlled it perfectly on the down. And there were just like troll after troll after troll. And what do? And what can you do when you get unsolicited advice from, you know, people about your technique? Because I certainly didn't put up a post of the video and say, oh, I don't have a coach, so could you all critique my technique and tell me what I'm doing wrong? Like, I have a coach. That's his job. And he actually thought the lift was not too bad. So look, what do? I read the comments, and I think, well, is that coming from a powerlifter? And I can tell you right now, 9,999 of the 10,000 comments, they're not from lifters, because you can tell, because lifters actually wouldn't say kind of the feedback that they're giving. So I go, okay, so they don't know what they're talking about. Do they know me? And the answer is no, they don't know me at all. Is what they're seeing just a small snippet of my lifting ability? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so do I actually give a fuck? No, I don't. So that's where that's at. That's how I deal with it. That's the questions that I ask. And then I get comfortable with it. And I'm okay with that. And occasionally I might delete a particularly vitriolic comment about my form, but I don't mind leaving it there. Like, you know, whatever. In fact, one gentleman, I use that term very, very loosely. He passed comment that I was going to break my back or get a bulging disc, that my spine would be permanently effed. And he said, and what for? Bragging rights. And the naughty, mischievous Ingrid snuck out. And I must admit, I pressed reply and I said, no, actually, this is my page. And I'm allowed to post videos because there's a small handful of past clients, current clients, people that like me, that want to see my lifts. If I was looking for bragging rights, I would say that I am a 4-time national champion, powerlifter, 2-time bodybuilding champion, Triple Crown winner, holder of 4 world records. But I didn't say that. So no, it wasn't about bragging rights. It was actually about it just being a post for the people that like me. So if you don't like me or my technique concerns you, perhaps you should unlike my page. It's not difficult. So that's how I handle that kind of criticism. And I hope that kind of makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of like water off a duck's back. Whereas if, I don't know, my coach got on there and said something and critiqued it, I'd be like, oh, I see what you mean, da 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 da, and I'd take it seriously. Or if my myotherapist said, ing, da 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 da, I'd go, okay, I'm going to listen to you, and take constructive criticism, because I certainly am not an expert, and I admit I'm not the prettiest of lifters. Fortunately, my coach has got me a lot better, but I'm not a technically beautiful deadlifter. Vastly improved, but not beautiful. And this gets me to the third criticism that I get. And I get it all the time. And by all the time, I don't mean once a week. I mean almost daily. And if it's not on social media, it's in Geelong in person. And that is that I get referred to as a man all the time. And it's been very painful, incredibly painful. It's probably been the most painful thing that I deal with in my life in general. When somebody attacks your gender, it's really demoralizing. And I hate to say this, but I'm really sick of people saying it's a reflection of them, which I understand and I totally agree. It is a reflection on them, their self-esteem, their image, their construct of gender, how they've been brought up, and perhaps just liking being a troll or putting women down, whatever the case may be. That the fact that it's on them doesn't take away the hurt that it inflicts on me. And it wounds me because, I think I can be really sexy. I know, stay with me. I just said I think I can be sexy. We are allowed to actually say that, and that doesn't mean I'm conceited. I don't think that at all. But I think when I put a gorgeous little dress on, I've got my favourite scent, I'm wearing some lovely high heels, my best accessories, and I'm feeling really confident, I feel like I could be like a knockout in a room, and that, people become attracted to me because, I'm feeling confident and sexy. So let me repeat that. We are allowed to feel that. We're allowed to say that we think we're sexy. I think I'm curvy, got a bit of booty, got a bit of chest. I think I've got a very womanly shape. And I don't look at a man that doesn't have any muscle and go, are you a girl? That's just rude. Okay, so we know people are really rude. Let me talk about my mum and dad for a moment, okay? I'll paint you a little picture. My mum, I think she's beautiful now, but in her younger days, she was kind of a cross between, for those of you that are my age, you'll remember Farrah Fawcett and Marilyn Monroe. She had big doe brown eyes, beautiful complexion, gorgeous blonde hair. She's very slim, big boobs, and she was a knockout. You know, she's a really stunning woman. Dad was kind of rugged and handsome in a way, but he had like a big nose, but it kind of really suited him. So I guess when you put the two of them together and I popped out, I don't look a thing like my mother. I am the opposite of my mother. I am very much a Barclay and I take after my dad. And so I've got like the jawline and I've got the big nose and I've got the big forehead. And, you know, at one point, and it was even well before I got called, you know, a trans and just all this ongoing shit. I remember saying to my mum, I don't feel attractive. I said, Mum, no one could ever call me cute. She said, no. I said, no one could ever call me pretty. No. And I'm not beautiful. No, you're not beautiful. I'm thinking, heck, way to go, Mum. I said, so where does that leave me? And she said, you're striking. You walk in the room and you're very striking. Some people are going to like that and some people aren't. And I thought, I can live with striking. You know, thanks, Mum. I know that's digressing a bit, but, you know, these thoughts have been going on for a number of decades, I guess. So, yeah, I take after my dad. And so, therefore, I take after Dad. Dad was very sporty, hence I'm very sporty. And I look sporty, and yes, I carry a fair bit of muscle. So, what I've also had to get my head around is that, I mean, the men are so incredibly cruel on social media. Like, they hammer me, you know. Even something as simple as on that video, one guy wrote, not interested in watching, she's a he. You know, I guess they don't think, but it's really, really crushing. And I went through the page and I ended up, I had to block, because I don't mind the critique ones. How I handle the gender ones, the short answer is at the moment, I still don't. Like, I just don't. It's really hard. And I'll tell you a story in a second. And you'll kind of get it. Because it's a bit different to social media. So I blocked 50 of them. 50 to the number. And what I'd realised was that I think one of the trolls had shared into a men's group and they all just trolled. So I blocked them all. 2 days later, there's this whole list of notifications again. I'm like, my stomach lurched. I thought, oh no, here we go again. And figure it out was never about men. So all it was females. And there was this whole batch of new comments from men, but they were largely complimentary. And I don't mean like in a schmo kind of way or a sleazy kind of way. I had no private messages, no inboxes, you know, like, you know what they do, rah, 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 girls, you all know what I'm talking about. No, none of those messages, just stuff like, you know, great strength, no straps, amazing, great, grip strength. Love the way you controlled it down. Didn't drop it like most Neanderthals. Things like that. And what I went through every single comment, which I used to do on Figure It Out, and I said a thank you or much appreciated, because actually it is, because anything that you lift when you're getting close to your max, I mean, it's hard, and it's nice to have someone go, hey, high five. You know, it's nice. And one guy the next day wrote, Ingrid, I don't know you, but look at what you've done. You've gone through and you've thanked everybody that gave you a compliment. To me, you're all class. You're just a nice person. Oh, yay. Somebody gets it. You know, like that was really nice vindication for me, you know. So at the moment, touch wood, there's a group of guys on there, and I ended up writing and saying, you know, to all you guys who, like one said, and the way he said it, you just knew he was saying it in good jest, and he said, gee, that's my 1 rep max, like 210. Hell, I better lift my game, Ingrid. And, you know, I wrote a very nice comment back because, of course, my goal is never to emasculate a male. I'm not interested in that. And that's why I like powerlifting, is because the male powerlifters will support and respect the female powerlifter and treat us as the athletes that we are. So that was all very interesting. But what I've also had to come to terms with, unfortunately, is that it's not just the trolls that think that I look like a male. I had an incident, you wouldn't believe this. Like, you think I'm almost making it up. But I went down to my local village supermarket area, village, you know, Karaya village. And I went to go to the toilet and I was following this lady. She'd have been 70 and she was wheeling a trolley, a walking frame thing. And I followed her into the door and we're standing in line and she turns around and she looks at me and she said, this is the ladies' room. The men's room's back there. And I hadn't had a good day. I was feeling a bit down anyway. And I looked at her and I said, what do you mean? I'm in the right place. Be very careful what you say to people. And she just turned around. I think she got it. And so I walked out of the toilet and I felt like shit. And then I went up to Coles, grabbed what I had. It took me all of 2 minutes. And I'm standing at a checkout. And the female checkout operator says to the male checkout, who's next? And the male checkout looked at the people in the line and said, that gentleman there. I'm like, are you for real? Okay, I had no makeup on. My hair was in a bun and I looked like crap. But still, twice in 5 minutes, I got home and I felt physically sick. Yeah, I was almost in tears. But it's not even just that. That's not even the worst of it. This was probably where I really had to get my head around the fact that obviously, because of the amount of times I get told, I just must have I've got high testosterone count, I know that. You know, that's just part of my DNA. But this was a pivotal moment. Do you agree with me that kids just say it how it is? Yeah. I don't have kids, for those of you that don't know me that well, but I don't have children. And I do understand that they just speak their truth. And I went to the supermarket, the bloody supermarket, I tell you, for all you female women bodybuilder types out there, don't go to supermarkets because you're going to get called a bloke. I can guarantee it from someone. I went in again. Hair was back because I just left Daramit's gym, but I was fully covered. So you couldn't really see my body at all. Like I couldn't even see my chest. It was like the hoodie I had on was up to there and I had tracky pants on. So and I had red lipstick and I actually had these on, these earrings. And around the corner of the aisle came a probably low socioeconomic mum and her daughter. And I would say that the daughter was about 5. And she just went, "Look, mummy, half man, half female." And yes, it hurt. Like as bad as what it always does. But I don't blame her because she's 5 and she just said what she said, and you know, like the mother didn't say anything or chastise her or have a conversation with her or pull her up or look at me and say sorry or anything like that. And I knew that she would not. I could just tell that was the kind of parent that she was. That's fine. So I've had to adjust my head around the fact that my friends say to me that they can't see it. My family, they really can't see it. Like, you know, I'm a daughter and I'm a sister, and they don't understand at all how I can get these comments. And most of the time I don't either, because I feel really, really feminine. I always wear scent every day. I'm big busted, and I'm grateful for that because they make me feel feminine. I always wear lipstick because it's, I don't know, it brightens my face and usually puts me in a good mood, and it's girly, and I love my hoop earrings, and you know, I try and dress cute sometimes, and I try to look, well, I wouldn't say I try to look like a girl, I'm just being a girl. So I have some kind of insight into how tough it must be for transgender people. That must be incredibly difficult. And I thank the Lord that I am non-judgmental of anybody's sexuality or whatever. I was blessed that I was brought up to not be, I mean, we all judge, yes, but not judgmental about things like that. But I haven't quite learnt to cope with it on social media, and at this point I just block and delete. Now, the reason that I block, delete and hide the comment, if I'm really open with you and tell you the real truth, unlike the technique, which I don't mind any of you seeing, I'm deeply embarrassed that that is how some people see me, and I don't want my tribe to see those kinds of comments about me. I don't want them to see it because it embarrasses me. It humiliates me. And it makes me feel like absolute shit. So I don't have advice on how to handle that. One thing I did learn on Friday was I did an hour interview with a researcher from Deakin Uni who I'd done an hour with a year ago, and she wanted a follow-up interview. And she's been talking to female bodybuilder or powerlifters. And what I'm talking about apparently is thematic, and other women like me experienced this and talked about it a lot with her. And it kind of made me feel a little bit better, to be truthful, on Friday, to go, you know, I'm not the only one. But it begs the question, like, how do the big physique girls, you know, that win the Miss Olympia, etc., how the hell do they cope? Like, because, I mean, they really look masculine, comparative to me. And, like, they're so much bigger and so much more ripped. Like, I can't even fathom what they go through. I'll give you an example, of one other example of nothing that was said, but this is what happens to me in day-to-day life all the time, like every day. Every day something will happen. But this happened, it would have been maybe, 6-8 months ago. I was with friends and I walked into a cafe and there was a long table and there were 4 people with their backs to me and 4 people facing me. Anyway, one of and it was a fella, but there were guys and girls at the table. He looked at me walking in and I knew immediately whatever he said, it was about me. Like, I knew intuitively, and then it was confirmed because the 4 with their backs all turned around, didn't look at my friends. They're all just looking at me. And I think, like, what is it? Like, is it because you think that I look like a bloke? Or is it that I am very unusual looking for a 54-year-old? Or is it both? But it casts doubt and causes a lot of consternation. So I have to do a lot of self-talk. I swing between that, well, you don't know my sex appeal. You don't know how I can, like, switch it on and be a lady and, display all the lovely feminine traits that I do have. I get that when I'm bulging and, like, you got funny expressions when you're lifting super heavy and it might not look particularly fantastic, but that's sport, isn't it? So that's where I'm at with the whole gender thing. Hiding, deleting, blocking, and, I don't say anything back to them or anything. I wouldn't rise to that. It's just better to say nothing at all. But there's a little bit of insight into living in Ingrid's body on a daily basis. It can be really tough. And one of the questions that the researcher asked me was, like, do you feel that, like, this powerlifting and bodybuilding and what it's done for your physique, would you do it again? And I've asked myself so many times, it's made me contemplate quitting, stopping lifting weights. Like, I find it so ironic that I spent most of my life until the age of 47 trying to get a physique that I loved. And at 47 through to now, I've got it. And at 47, I became single. Finally happy with my body, and I'm single. The irony of it, it just sucks. But, am I going to quit? No. I just have to continue to work to get more and more and more resilient. And, I just wish that people could come up with other advice other than, it's a reflection on them, because that just doesn't help me. So I don't say that to anybody else. But I hope that my sharing might help you in some way, or it might just let you get to know me a little bit better, I suppose, But I hope you got something out of it, and it was good for me to talk about it. because when things stay in your back pocket as a, if you like, dirty secret, that's not good for anybody. Like, we've got to pull our secrets out and share them so that others can learn from them and take lessons from them. And they're either going to get put off by what you say, or they're going to go, that was courageous, because she demonstrated a lot of vulnerability to open up and share. And even if that group is the minority, I'll take that group every time, because they're my tribe. You know, I can be myself. And at the end of the day, all I want to do is go to my grave knowing that I was me. Thanks for watching.